The paradox of pain. Why women crave the one who hurts. He lies. He disappears. He makes her cry. But she keeps going back while the man who'd never hurt her watches in silence. You've seen it before. Maybe you've lived it. The good man, steady kind, always available, sits quietly waiting to be chosen. Meanwhile, she runs after the man who avoids eye contact, who never texts first, who leaves her questioning her own worth. Why? It defies logic. It insults effort. It mocks sincerity. But here's what most men and many women don't fully understand. Attraction doesn't live in logic. It lives in the nervous system. And the nervous system is ancient. It doesn't care about what's right. It responds to what's familiar. If pain is familiar, chaos becomes comfortable. If validation was rare in childhood, rejection feels like home. So when he pulls away, her body chases. When he's cold, she feels heat. When he breaks her, she feels alive. Not because she wants to suffer, but because part of her learned long ago that love feels like tension. And this is the paradox: she doesn't crave the pain. She craves the emotional high that follows it. The apology, the return, the almost connection that feels like triumph. It's not love. It's a trauma loop. It's not chemistry. It's nervous system addiction. She's not broken for wanting the man who hurts her. She's conditioned. You're not losing to a better man. You're losing to her pain dressed in his skin. The trauma blueprint, how childhood wires desire. Before she ever fell for him, she was already wired to crave the unpredictable. No little girl wakes up one day and says, "I want a man who will make me feel small, unsure, unseen." But she doesn't have to, because the blueprint has already been written long before she met him. If her father's love was inconsistent, if her mother's affection was conditional, if love in her home came wrapped in guilt, silence, or control, then love for her is not peace. It's proving. It's chasing. It's earning. It's working for attention that always seems just out of reach. And the nervous system remembers. So when she meets a man who mirrors that early emotional tension, who gives then withdraws, who flirts then forgets, who touches then disappears, she doesn't run, she locks in. Because somewhere deep inside her says, this is what love feels like. This is what I need to fix. The toxic man doesn't have to be violent or cruel. He just has to feel like home in the worst, most magnetic way. And this is the dangerous beauty of trauma. It doesn't just wound. It writes the script for who we're drawn to. So while the good man offers peace, stability, presence, her body might reject him. Because peace feels foreign, and foreign doesn't feel safe. She's not addicted to him. She's addicted to the pattern he activates. Love doesn't always feel like comfort, especially when your blueprint is built on pain. The masculine edge, why softness doesn't spark. She says she wants a kind, available man. But when he shows up, she feels nothing. Why? There's a quiet truth most men are never told. Being good is not the same as being attractive. We raise boys to be nice, to never upset, to always agree, to avoid conflict, to listen and provide and apologize for wanting anything at all. But in the world of raw feminine energy, nice doesn't spark. It doesn't ignite the nervous system. It doesn't challenge. It doesn't create polarity. What women are drawn to, even if they won't admit it out loud, is something far older than logic. It's edge. It's presence with power. It's the kind of masculine energy that says, I see you, I want you, but I don't need you. The toxic man doesn't attract her because he's cruel. He attracts her because he carries danger, unpredictability, tension. And that edge feels like vitality. Meanwhile, the overly soft man, the one who gives before she asks, who agrees with every opinion, who waits for permission to move, feels emotionally weightless. And weightless means she feels nothing. It's not about being aggressive. It's not about playing games. It's about holding grounded masculine energy that doesn't seek approval and because of that, commands attention. She doesn't want to be hurt. She wants to be moved. And sometimes the line between the two is razor thin. Softness without strength isn't love, it's erasure. Her inner war, security versus stimulation. He makes her feel safe, the other makes her feel alive, and part of her doesn't know which feeling is real love. Inside many women is a quiet battlefield. On one side, the longing for peace protection, emotional security, the man who's steady, thoughtful, warm. On the other, the craving for stimulation, intensity, emotional unpredictability, the man who is chaos wrapped in charisma. And she doesn't always choose consciously. Because the war isn't fought in her mind, it's waged in her nervous system. The secure man offers sanctuary. The dangerous man offers sensation. One offers what she knows she needs. The other delivers what she feels in her body. That feeling, the flutter, the obsession, the fire often masquerades as love, even when it's just the echo of old survival patterns reawakened. The stable man texts when he says he will. He listens. He respects. He plans. But in her body, none of it registers as urgency. The unpredictable man, he disappears for days, returns with a joke, touches her knee and looks away, and suddenly her world spins again. And in that spin she feels, not necessarily good, not healthy, but intense, and intensity for someone wired in chaos feels like home. She isn't choosing him because he's better. She's choosing him because he lights up her nervous system. Until she learns that stillness can be safe and stimulating, she will keep mistaking fire for love. The fixer fantasy, falling in love with potential. She doesn't love the man he is. She loves the man he could become if only he'd let her fix him. There's a quiet seduction in being needed, in seeing someone broken and believing you could be the one to heal them. Many women, especially those raised to be emotionally attuned to care for others before themselves, carry this wound of worth. If I can fix him, maybe I'll finally feel enough. She sees the way he avoids commitment, the way he shuts down, the way he manipulates, withdraws, drinks too much, disappears. But alongside that, she also sees his potential, the softness under the surface, the way he held her that one night, the vulnerability he showed just once before building walls again, and it hooks her, because that version of him, the one he could become, feels like her purpose. She thinks if I love him hard enough, he'll change. If I stay when others would leave, he'll choose me. But here's the trap. She's not in a relationship with him. She's in a relationship with a dream where her love is the answer, where her pain becomes proof of depth, where her emotional suffering is not a red flag, but a sign of spiritual devotion. And the longer she stays, the more invested she becomes, because walking away would mean admitting the truth, that she never really had him, only the hope of who he might one day be. She doesn't want the broken man. She wants to be the woman who finally fixes him. But healing isn't something you earn from someone else's pain. It's something they must choose without you as their project. When chaos feels like chemistry. She says, I've never felt this way before, but what she really means is, my body is confusing adrenaline with love. There's a moment that feels electric, the butterflies, the tension, the way her heart races when he looks at her a certain way and then disappears. It feels like destiny. But it's not. It's chemistry laced with chaos. Here's the psychological truth most people don't know. The body cannot distinguish between danger and excitement, not in the early stages. The same adrenaline that pumps through her when she's falling in love is nearly identical to what activates during stress, anxiety, even trauma. So when a man is unpredictable, when he withholds and then rewards, pulls back, and then showers her with affection, her nervous system lights up like Christmas. But this isn't soul recognition. This is trauma reenactment. And because it feels so intense, so real, so alive, she calls it chemistry. And let's be honest, that good, calm, respectful guy, he doesn't give her those highs. He doesn't take her on that roller coaster. He doesn't make her obsess. So she says there's no spark. But what she really means is there's no danger. And what does that reveal? That for many women, attraction has been shaped by survival, and what they call passion is often just a well-disguised panic response. It's not chemistry, it's chaos with a scent of hope. Real connection is calm, but when you've lived in storms, silence can feel like abandonment. The mirror effect. She sees herself in his wounds. She thinks she's falling for him. But what if she's just trying to rescue the version of herself she couldn't save? Love can be a mirror. And sometimes the person we're most drawn to isn't a soulmate, but a reflection of the pain we haven't yet faced. Many women don't just fall in love with the man who's hurting. They fall in love with his wounds because his pain reminds them of their own. If he struggles with abandonment, she knows that feeling. If he hides behind silence, she's met that silence before, maybe in childhood. If he lashes out when vulnerable, she remembers doing the same, once. And so instead of walking away, she leans in. Not because she's weak, not because she's blind, but because deep down she thinks, if I can love him through this, maybe someone will love me the same. But here's the twist. She's not healing him. She's reliving herself. Every time he pushes her away, it confirms the belief she's carried for years, I'm not enough to stay for. Every time he apologizes and repeats the cycle she internalizes, love is proving. Suffering is loyalty. This isn't intimacy, it's an emotional reenactment. And she's not just in love, she's in a loop. She doesn't want him to win. She wants her younger self to win this time. But you cannot heal your past through someone else's broken present. Punishing the self through love. She doesn't choose him despite the pain. Sometimes she chooses him because she believes she deserves it. Not all wounds bleed. Some sit quietly beneath the skin, shaping every choice we call love. For many women, especially those who grew up feeling unseen, unworthy, or not good enough, love becomes a form of penance, a slow, subtle punishment disguised as passion. She doesn't say it out loud, but somewhere deep in her nervous system, a whisper repeats, I am only worthy of love that costs me. So when the man is distant, harsh, unfaithful, it makes sense, not to her mind, but to the part of her that still believes affection must be earned through pain. She tolerates the silence, rationalizes the insults, romanticizes the inconsistency, because if love ever came too easily, too purely, too safely, she wouldn't know what to do with it. It would feel like a lie. And here lies the cruel truth. The way she treats herself becomes the standard for how others are allowed to treat her. And if her inner voice is cruel, she'll find someone who echoes it and call it love. Not because she wants to suffer, but because part of her still believes she must. Some women don't fall in love. They fall into emotional self-harm. When you believe pain is your price, you'll keep paying it even in romance. Emotional withdrawal as power. He says almost nothing, but she thinks about him constantly. What makes someone unforgettable? It's not always what they give. Sometimes it's what they withhold. And no one plays this game better than the emotionally unavailable man. He doesn't chase. He doesn't explain. He disappears and then returns, like nothing happened. And the paradox, the less he gives, the more she invests. Not because she's foolish, but because of something deeper, darker, more primal. Humans crave resolution, and women often trained to nurture, to fix, to understand, are especially vulnerable to the pull of emotional gaps. So when he withdraws, when he ghosts, grows cold, or avoids intimacy, her brain doesn't let go. It locks in. Did I say something wrong? Is he just scared of love? Maybe if I just show him I care, he'll open up. But what she doesn't realize is this. His absence becomes the canvas she paints her fantasies on. Every time he disappears, she fills in the blanks with hope, with empathy, with imagined depth. He becomes more mysterious, more complex, more worth it even when he's offering less than nothing. And that silence, it starts to sound like power. Because in the absence of clarity, her mind makes music. But it's a song of self-abandonment. And she doesn't even realize. She's dancing alone. His silence speaks volumes, but it's her own voice she's hearing echoing in the emptiness. He doesn't have power. Her hope gives it to him. Healing or repeating, her unconscious choice. She's not trapped in his love. She's trapped in her pattern. There comes a moment not loud, not dramatic, but quiet, where something inside her finally asks, what if this isn't love? What if it's just familiar pain dressed as destiny? It's the first crack in the mirror. The first time she questions the cycle, not the man. The first time she turns the gaze inward, not for blame, but for clarity. Because here's the final truth she has always been choosing. Not consciously, not clearly, but choosing nonetheless. Choosing the ache she knows over the peace she doesn't. Choosing the adrenaline over the anchor. Choosing the man who hurts her not because she wants pain, but because she hasn't yet learned how to live without it. Until now. Healing begins the moment she stops asking, why doesn't he love me better, and instead asks, why do I keep giving my love to someone who won't hold it? That shift is seismic. Because from that moment on, she is no longer the girl in the story. She becomes the author. She may still feel the pull, the echo, the familiar ache. But she now knows love should not feel like a rescue mission. It should feel like home, not a battlefield. She doesn't need him to change. She needs to remember she can leave. The man who hurts her is not her soulmate. He's her signal that it's time to come back to herself. If this story reflects your own, you're not broken. You're awakening. Share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to this channel for more deep, raw, honest content. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, send it to them. Because sometimes truth hurts. But not as much as staying asleep.